Welcome to 100 Yards of Football. If you like the video today, please comment and share it. Today's video is our 2024 NFL Draft prospect Marvin Harrison Jr., wide receiver out of the Ohio State Buckeyes. So if you like the video, once again, please comment and share it. We'll surely appreciate here at 100 Yards Football. Special thanks to our very talented producer, Mr. Logan Landers, the youngest member of 100 Yards of Football, a.k.a. Babyface. I'm your host, Vincent Turner. Now I'm going to bring up a gentleman that I've been knowing over the last 2 years that, through the grace of Mr. Landers bringing on the 100 Yards of Football, he's changed my life in so many ways. And watching the NFL draft, covering the NFL draft, and his passion, and his love for these players that's going to be on that stage in Detroit a couple of months down the road in April. He's the best out there that's doing this at a high level. I know we get annoyed watching the NFL Network. We watch ESPN and Mel Kiper. But if I had to go to battle, like Napoleon, I'm taking this young man with me all day long because I consider him the best in the business covering these players at a high level. My man coming out of Key West, Florida, the very talented Mr. Daniel Kelly. How you doing today here on 100 Yards of Football?
Hey, I'm doing very well, sir. Thank you so much for asking and for that intro. Life is good. We're moving closer and closer to the 2024 NFL Draft, which means there's about 27 hours of work for me to do a day and 24 hours on the clock. So we're getting serious about this NFL Draft stuff as we move towards the big day.
Let's get on Marvin Harrison Jr., the Ohio State Buckeyes talented wide receiver.
Absolutely, Mr. Turner, and to all of our listeners, you see him there on your screen, number 18, kind of doing, looks like a Superman impression there, pulling aside the old Cam Newton move there. And, he is a huge reputation player, bottom line. Of course, he's the son of a Hall of Fame wide receiver Marvin Harrison, who we all remember playing with Peyton Manning with the Indianapolis Colts. He's a big guy, Marvin Harrison Jr., 6'4", 205. And I don't sing with the choir, go along to get along, or get along to go along, or however you want to say it. Everything I do at firstroundmock.com, which is the draft website that I run, is predicated upon game film. Game film trumps everything. Game film is king. And I do provide all the links to the game film for the accountability purposes, and also to help fans be able to see what I'm seeing on film. I think that's a very important piece of the puzzle that I'm extremely pleased to introduce to the general public that nobody else is doing in draft media. That you can go right on there, click on the games and watch them. 14 games, speaking of game film, evaluated overall in 2022 and 2023. And in 2023, I'll just quickly run down the games that I watched so you can hold me accountable, then see what the game film says to you. I watched the Ohio State, as you mentioned, Mr. Turner, against Penn State, Maryland, Youngstown State, Notre Dame, Indiana, Michigan State, Wisconsin, and Michigan. Now, Marvin Harrison Jr., as I said, you see on your screen, is being mocked by 99.3% of NFL draft platforms in the NFL draft community as a first-round grade. He is the consensus number 4 pick overall. But on my wide receivers board, which I just released this morning on Twitter, Marvin Harrison Jr. is my WR5 in this draft class. 2004, if we remember back that far, was a historic year for wide receivers, with a record number 7 wide receivers being selected in the first round that year. This year, I officially have given out 8 first-round grades. And number 1, Xavier Legette. Number 2, Ad Mitchell. Number 3, Malik Neighbors. Number 4, Rome Odunze with the Washington Huskies. And number 5, as I mentioned, Marvin Harrison Jr. That's going to surprise a lot of people as you're listening to this, because the mainstream narrative is that this guy is the best thing since sliced bread. This guy is it. This guy is him with a capital H, as they say on social media. So why? Why would I have him ranked as my 5th best receiver on my draft board? Well, bottom line, Marvin Harrison Jr. does not like to go out of his way for passes on game film. Like I said, a ton of hype, a ton of noise surrounds Marvin Harrison Jr., but he dogs it on game film. He takes it easy on game film. He coasts on his natural, God-given ability on game film. He lives off his daddy's name on game film. And this is the way I would talk if I was sitting in the NFL war room and it came my turn to talk and they called on me and asked me what my opinion is. I stand on my convictions. I stand on what the game film says to me and what Marvin Harrison Jr. himself put on the film. I've seen it a number of times throughout the years, as I'm sure we all have, who've been watching this great game for a while. There's prospects whose daddy was an NFL all-time great. Daddy had to come up the hard way. That's what made him great. The son had privilege. And that's exactly 110% what it looks like on game film with Marvin Harrison Jr. Let's put it another way. Marvin Harrison Jr. ain't mossing anybody out there. He's got his daddy's genes, but he's not a go-getter from the neck up. Yet, because of his natural God-given ability, I do still have a first-round grade on Marvin Harrison Jr., or MHJ as he's called. Okay? So I don't want anybody to walk away from this show and say, Kelly says this guy's going to be a bust, like people say on social media. Kelly doesn't have a big grade in this guy. I do have a big grade. And I don't do this for clicks or any other reason. My end game is to get back in the league. So I do have a first-round grade on him based on his natural God-given ability. I have a first-round grade on Marvin Harrison Jr. I outlined all of this a few days ago on Twitter X on a post that currently has 342,000 impressions. If you would go check it out on Twitter. Do I sound like I'm really being hard on Marvin Harrison Jr.? You bet I'm being hard on Marvin Harrison Jr. Because nothing ticks me off more as an evaluator than when I watch a prospect who has all the ability in the world take it for granted. And that's what it looks like when I see Marvin Harrison Jr. on game film. Yeah. I hear all the bragging and people talking who know him, and they say he has such a great work ethic, and maybe he does practice in different areas outside of the stadium gates. But I don't really care, because if it doesn't show up in game film, it doesn't mean anything in the large scheme of things, because it has to translate to the game film. And no, this is, like I said, not a hot take, and I'd rather die than do something for clicks. Case in point, okay? I'm not just shooting from the hip for the heck of it. So, oh, wow, look what he said today. 2022, he has C.J. Stroud as his quarterback at Ohio State. C.J. Stroud, of course, has a monster season this year for the Houston Texans. C.J. Stroud has some of the best ball placement downfield I'd ever seen as an evaluator coming out. Accurate, pinpoint accurate, Ohio State, right? Harrison's catch rate in 2022 was C.J. Stroud, 64.7%. 2023, the script flipped, and now he has quarterback Kyle McCord mixed in with a little quarterback play from Devin Brown and Lincoln Kienholz. And Harrison's catch rate dropped from 64.7% down to 57.2%. Okay? Didn't have the ball right where he needed to be this last season. Proof to me that he needs to go to an NFL team that has a pinpoint accurate passer. That is a prerequisite in the 2024 NFL draft from where I am sitting. And the worst part of all this is Harrison and McCord were high school teammates. Harrison on 2022 game film, I question if he was really a legitimate deep threat. He answered some of that for me in 2023 with mixed results deep. He's bottom line to me, most of the time, he's a very good short to intermediate range, 0 to 19 yards possession type receiver. He's an alpha. number one, ex-receiver. To unpack some of the more finer details, positives and negatives, the positives. Marvin Harrison Jr. has them when he wants to play with them. He uses his imposing size, cat-quick release, physicality, natural strength, and hands to release very well when the ball is snapped to achieve route leverage. Route leverage being the positional advantage that a receiver has over the cornerback that he's matched up against. He's good at finding soft spots in zone coverage. Can sniff them out really good. Can sit down underneath them, settle down, make the catch. Strong hands, fluid hips. He has what I refer to as body elasticity. He's wiggly. He's wiggly out there, kind of like Jackson Smith-Njigba was at Ohio State. He's very wiggly at the break points of the routes. He's got quick feet, quick choppy feet. Can change direction quickly, especially for a big man. Impressive. Above average catch radius. But just look at his arms. His wingspan alone shows us what kind of catch radius that he has just naturally. And overall, good ball tracking skills and concentration. If the ball's right in the money downfield, further downfield deep, if you put it right in the breadbasket, he's making the catch. Negatives are a lack of wow moments. He didn't blow me away. He doesn't attack every single play with the same intensity level. He flashes, not all the time, flashes, speed and acceleration, capable of more. It's in there, but he's capable of more. As I mentioned, mixed results deep, and he does not show much fight for contested passes. Average, high pointing the ball as well, further downfield. To conclude, overall, the passes need to be right on the money, as I mentioned. Otherwise, these other issues start to creep in. Marvin Harrison Jr. will not follow his daddy to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. NFL comparison, I put him somewhere when the dust settles and his career's over, he'll be somewhere in the charts between Michael Westbrook, who played back in the day for the Washington Redskins, 285 career catches, and Keyshawn Johnson, who spent most of his time with the Jets, of course, played for the Bucks too, ended at 814 career catches. Frankly, I walked away from Marvin Harrison Jr.'s game film feeling disappointed as an evaluator. I really liked Garrett Wilson. I've seen all these Ohio State guys. I really liked Garrett Wilson when he was drafted. Matter of fact, I mocked him to the Jets 4 months before the New York Jets even selected him. I really liked Garrett Wilson. He went number 10 overall in the draft. I loved Jackson Smith-Njigba, who went to Seattle at number 20. From a value standpoint, I can't sit here and say when I project Marvin Harrison Jr. that he's dramatically better than Garrett Wilson or Jackson Smith-Njigba. Now, he does have a bigger name, but I can't say from a talent standpoint he's dramatically better than either. Will he go highly likely, higher in the draft than 10 to 20? Probably so, because of the overgrading that exists in the NFL. After all, it's a league that valued this weekend's Super Bowl quarterback, Brock Purdy, as Mr. Irrelevant. Your thoughts, Mr. Turner, on Marvin Harrison Jr., wide receiver, The Ohio State?
I'm going to say this. DK, I love you, man. You write great stuff. We had stories outside 100 yards football, but I'll be honest with you, I like Marvin Harrison Jr. And I'm going to tell you why. He was highly recruited, but it's something about going to a school that's got competition that you have to follow a legacy. Now, granted, his dad, no question about it, Hall of Famer, over 14,000 yards, 128 touchdowns in a 13-year career. But, man, Marvin Harrison Jr. could have went anywhere in the country, but he decided to go where that smoke was up there in Columbus, Ohio. When you had David Boston that went through there, Terry Glenn that went through there, Joey Galloway that went through there, Michael Jenkins that went through there, and the great route runner that have some of the best feet as a wide receiver, the great Paul Warfield. But he waited his time. And I know it seemed like maybe from a game film, because you're an evaluator, and this is what you do, and you're best doing it. But sometimes it did seem like he might have been smooth running the routes. But when you go for 155 receptions in your career, 2,613 yards, average almost 17 yards a catch, 31 touchdowns, that's pretty impressive. And then you followed and had to wait your time behind Chris Avila and Garrett Wilson, and you 6'4", 205 pounds, and you're not as quick as your father when we say in the slot. But to me, I gotta love that. And that's good you brought up the comparisons, him to Keyshawn Johnson. But when I look at him, I think he's a more athletic Chris Carter. A little better on the same level, a gentleman I've seen play up close and personal. Our producer can maybe chime in a little bit in A.J. Green that went with the Bengals. And then he's got a little bit, I think he's more athletic than Larry Fitzgerald. I'm not saying that he's in that category, but I'm saying athletic. But for me, when you look at him 6'4", 205, we got this song that came out by Midnight Star when I was in the mid-'80s called Freakazoid. Here's a gentleman, I can't wait to see him go to the combine because he's going to probably do bench press 225 20 times. He squats over 500. He's got a broad jump of 10 feet 8. And then most of all, you're right, you said the speed, but I think he's going to run a 4.4 at the combine. But with me, I always look at how you play in the big games when the light is on. And what's done it for me with Marvin Harrison Jr. was in his sophomore year. Granted, he had an excellent quarterback in C.J. Stroud that was very accurate. But see, competition to me is going to tell how you play at the next level. He came in a college football semifinal game against the University of Georgia and went up against a secondary that is going to have 4 players that's going to be in the NFL. Kelly Ringo was guarding him in the first 2 quarters, who started some for the Eagles this year, the Philadelphia Eagles, and Mr. Harrison let him up. Then Kamari Lassiter, who, if you look on your draft boards, has got a first-round grade, had problems with him. Then Javon Bullock, who laid that very questionable, dirty hit in the 3rd quarter that knocked him out of the game, which was a head-to-head hit. And Marvin Harrison doesn't lead that game. Ohio State wins that game going away.
Looks like he won something there.
Yeah. And then on top of that, the competition, Tariq Smith, who's in that secondary along with Javon Bullock, Kamari Lassiter, and Kelly Ringo are all going to be starters in the NFL. And Mr. Harrison put 5 receptions, 106 yards on 21 yards a catch and 2 touchdowns. And he was the best player on the field. Oh, I get excited. I'm sorry.
No, get excited. Get fired up. That's what an NFL war room is.
Marvin Harrison Jr., in my opinion, proved to me that he belongs. At 6'4", 205 pounds, I think he's going to be special at the next level. And that's all I got to say. Back to you, DK.
Hey, I love the passion. Love it. And that's what it's all about in this great game. And you mentioned some great names there that you threw out that, comparing Marvin Harrison Jr. to. I'll conclude with this. Again, it's not a matter if Marvin Harrison Jr. to me is a first-round talent, because at the end of the day, just from a raw athletic standpoint alone, there's only so many people in the world that are built like him at his size and can do potentially what he can do. Okay. So there's no question he's a first-round pick. What to me it comes down to is a proper valuation. There's a lot of hype that surrounds the NFL draft, and there's a lot of other things besides NFL game film that unfortunately take precedence, such as things like you mentioned, NFL Combine. I'm sure he's going to jump off a gym and do all this kind of great things in gym shorts. There's all these other factors that go on and other things that surround the game. There's season ticket sales, there's jersey sales, there's all kinds of things. And he's got the big name. But to me, I'll conclude with some facts. And this is the thing that's most concerning to me. Yes, Marvin Harrison Jr. does have some big games. But if you go to ESPN.com and pull up his statistics like I just did, there's also some other games mixed in 2023. And probably against guys that may or may not sniff an NFL locker room. He's playing right here. It looks like against Indiana, 2 catches for 18 yards. Should have smoked him. He's got another game here, Notre Dame. Big game for Ohio State, right? 3 catches, 32 yards. I know he was injured in one of these games. I forget which one it was. But then he has a game against Rutgers on 11-4. Rutgers, right? I don't think there's any first-round picks coming out of Rutgers this year at defensive back. 4 catches, 25 yards. Then he has a game against Minnesota on November 18th. I don't think Minnesota has any first-round corners from what I've seen so far. 3 catches for 30 yards. If you look at his stats, it reads like a bit of a roller coaster as you look around. And it's kind of concerning. He's got 2 catches, 7, 5, 3, 8, 6, 11, 6, 4, 7, 3, 5. Only one game with more than 10 catches. That was against Penn State back on October 21st when he had 11 catches for 162 yards. There's no question, as I mentioned a number of times, Marvin Harrison Jr. has the ability. The question to me that I would look an NFL owner in the eyes with, if the clock was ticking down and he turned to me and says, "What do you think, Kelly?" The question to me is he going to show up, and when is he going to show up on game film?
If you like the video today, please come and share it. I surely appreciate here at 100 Yards Football. Very special thanks to our producer today, Mr. Logan Landers, for making it happen. And, of course, to the savant, the legend of the 2024 NFL Draft, Mr. Daniel Kelly. My final words on Marvin Harrison Jr. Hey, all I can go on is that I'm not a big-time scout. I just love watching players play at a high level. But however, I know it's some called competition. I know it's some with that money on the line. I don't care about them other games. I'm coming when you're talking about the college football playoffs and you battling for that chip. And the Georgia Bulldogs had four guys that's going to play in the NFL. And he went man-to-man against Kelly Ringo. And you know what he did? He did some eating. Y'all be blessed. Terrell on 100 Yards of Football. He did some eating in their Mercedes-Benz. Y'all be blessed.